What is going on, everyone? Sergeant Arger right here. What are you doing, Eclipse? But today, we're going to be reacting to part 2 of how to destroy Tank Destroyer. We're not going to be reacting to part 2, but this is the part 2 of the reaction of how to design a Tank Destroyer. What are you doing? What the heck? He's like walking on all my shelves and like, touching my stuff. Anyways. Guys, we are 5 subscribers away from 195 subscribers. Once we get to that, we will be doing our election live stream. We will be predicting who's going to win the election. Because this is the part 3 of that, because we did that earlier, a while ago. Part 1 and 2. And part 2 was about a month ago, so check that out. And part 1 was a month before that. Oh no! Oops. Go back a little bit. Yeah. Just make sure to subscribe. Without further ado, let's get started.
The Americans, though, had the opportunity to chew upon this with something of a lesser time crunch. By late 1940, it was
What just happened?
concluded that a frontal defense wasn't going to work, and the Field Service Regulations of 1941 stated that they wanted to have a minimum of 80 guns up front and a maximum in a mobile reserve. These are, of course, still all towed. Still, though, more mobile guns were required. Enter in mid-1941 a Major Rademeyer, graduate of the Kriegsakademie, but whether he was influenced by German anti-tank thought of the matter is unknown, but he felt that the bulk of anti-tank units were to be pooled at higher headquarters in highly mobile, centrally located groups. By the way, just to make it clear, he's an American officer. The primary weapon would be a mobile, heavily gunned tank chaser.
Tank chaser.
So again, we're talking speed and guns more than anything else. Due to the lack of any particular progress, General Marshall set up an anti-tank conference headed by then Colonel Bruce in July 1941.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, speed is apparently very important for anti-tank guns. I mean, and tank destroyers, yes.
The description of the vehicle which they desired was thus. Again, quote. We are after a fast-moving vehicle armed with a weapon with a powerful punch, which can be easily and quickly fired, and in the last analysis, we would like to get armored protection against small arms fire so that this weapon cannot be put out by machine guns. The idea that we have in mind is, in reality, similar to the battlecruiser. Its tactics in operating against the tanks, well, the battleship in this analogy, have to be different from the tactics which we had employed in operating the tank, or battleship, against the tank, or battleship. Speed, visibility, and hitting power of the tank destroyer should compensate to some degree for its lack of armor. Unquote. Now, by this point, the Army had started investigating the possibility of a self-propelled anti-tank gun with a number of wheeled carriages.
Look at those things. Wait a minute. Didn't we just see this earlier? I think I might have accidentally went too far back. Maybe we started here. But anyways, I don't remember. But seriously, look at look at the. I don't know. Something about those Jeeps. Just they look silly. I don't really know how to describe it. Just like this little tiny Jeep with like this humongous gun on it. Like look at that, especially that first one. Jeez.
However, it was time to lay out official required characteristics in a more formal manner, as opposed to just throwing designs at the wall to see what stuck.
Look at that. It looks like I'm him, sort of.
Requirement for a light tank destroyer was put out within 2 weeks by Army G4, signed by a General Twaddle. They wanted, quote, a self-propelled mount for the 37mm anti-tank guns in a light, highly mobile, fast, lightly armored cross-country vehicle.
Yeah, and like those Jeeps. They're talking about speed. That seems like it could be pretty fast, and it's a small target. So, yeah, I get the logic behind it. It seems pretty pretty good.
Having a low silhouette. This vehicle must be capable of being manufactured by mass production methods at minimum cost. Then there was a whole slew of physical characteristics, starting with, again, quote, simple in design, relatively cheap, incapable of mass production due to use of standard automotive tractor parts. This is a major requirement, unquote. Armor
Yeah, that would make sense. You'd have a lot of them.
protection was listed as protection against the .5.
Because especially since they don't have that much armor. Like, imagine you just have, like, I don't know, 5 of them against 5 tanks. Or, like, 1 against 1 tank. You know, just... the tank shoots it, it's down for good. And the fact that it doesn't have that much armor means that all of that money is going into it. And it's really easily destroyed. So, like, that adds up quickly.
Caliber at 250 yards, and armor to be of sufficient height to give all-round protection to the gun crew when in firing position. Top armor was specified as none. Long-distance speed was to be greater than or equal to any of the light tanks on all grades in road, with cross-country speed equal to the M3 Light. There were a slew of other requirements, but those are the relevant ones to this particular discussion. 2 weeks later, another characteristic sheet went out looking for a vehicle from 57 millimeters to 3 inch, which may perhaps also be used in as an assault gun. Quote,
Eclipse. Okay.
There is a military requirement for a self-propelled vehicle capable of mounting a more formidable weapon than the 37mm anti-tank gun. It is visualized that this heavier type mount will be used primarily to reinforce the lighter vehicles. G2 reports are continuously being received, indicating the fallacy of sending expensive, unarmored fighting vehicles to operate on the modern battlefield. The use of a shield only is extremely ineffective, according to our reports. And all countries are increasing the area of armor on anti-tank and assault artillery weapons. As in the case of large and expensive tanks, this vehicle will not be produced in numbers comparable to the lighter type due to increased cost and the additional time required for manufacture. Again, by the way, unquote, again, armor was not to be placed on the roof, and it was to be high enough only to protect the men inside. In the end, the 2 vehicles would be the 37mm gun motor carriage M6 and the...
Oh, look at that thing.
70.
That's a long Jeep. I never thought I'd be saying that. I don't know. It just looks like a long Jeep. I don't know. That just sounds really funny. Saying a long Jeep. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But look at that cyclone. That actually looks kind of cool. Look at that design. It looks like it's pretty powerful. Look at that thing. At least compared to the other ones. Like if you compare it to the the barrel sizes of the other ones. Actually, are those the same thing? Are those the no, they're not. Okay.
5mm gun motor carriage M3. Though, contrary to the initial thinking, the heavy caliber gun would be the primary vehicle, and soon the folly of the 37 in any shape or form would be completely made clear, and then the vehicle entirely. So again, the lack of a roof will not only lighten the weight, but even go as far as to make the mounting cheaper. Now, around this time, the British start playing around with portée mounts for the 2-pounder. Now, these are simply a solution to a technical problem. The wheels on the 2-pounder carriage apparently weren't sufficiently rugged to be bouncing around, towed on the rough North African terrain. Officially, they weren't to be fired from the back of the truck, but in practice, they often were. The 6-pounder Deacon was built to...
What is that thing? Oh,
be fired from the truck, but that's something of a bog.
Look at it.
Of a vehicle which didn't last after North Africa.
I don't know, that design just looks hilarious to me.
Come 1942, American thinking on the matter is more like...
Oh gosh, I don't know if you can hear me.
As follows, quote, The destroyer's gun and mount don't have the tank's armor, but its crew commands greater speed, visibility, maneuverability, and at least equal firepower. It can pick the time and place to deliver its punch and then hightail it to a new position to strike again. Another doctrinal term, by the way, hightail. If I tried using that in the ILE course or Captain's Career course, they'd murder me, but there's precedent. One good tank destroyer can be produced for materially less than the cost of a tank and in far less time with less critical materials. Thus would be the case for not only the M10 but also M36, and to a large extent the M18, which wasn't actually much cheaper than the tank, but was certainly more mobile, faster, and had more visibility. The M18's kill rate by the end of the war is an indicator of the success of the vehicle. Of course, then, the Americans are now going all in on turrets, and they are not entirely alone in doing so. The Germans are trying to figure out how to put their AT guns in a 360-degree traverse mount as well, such as on the RSO or the Waffenträgers.
Whoa.
These are not proving particularly...
Look at that gun on that thing. Whoa. It looks like way big. Like the length of the gun. It's like almost as long as the length of the vehicle. Wow.
Successful, the RSOs have too little protection to begin with, and the Martyrs, well, they're more sort of an expedient SPG. Hornisse Nashorn, however, is a purpose-designed vehicle. They gave up on the Traverse to have armor on all sides, but without the roof again. Ideal method of operation per an instruction sheet from late 1943. The Schwere Panzerjäger Abteilung Hornisse is the mobile defense for the command to concentrate against enemy tank attacks. Employ as an Abteilung or a company. So, again, what they're doing is they're maintaining their function similar to US tank destroyers or the Panzerjägers before, just supposedly at company level. Then the Germans lost the plot then. The first two vehicles, which are considered as tank destroyers with heavy armor and a roof, are Ferdinand and Jagdpanzer IV, but they actually don't really count because they were both developed as Sturmgeschütz and was an entirely different role. Indeed,
what's a Sturmgeschütz? Or whatever you said. What does that mean?
Jagdpanther also started its development in 1943 as an 8.8 centimeter assault gun before being turned into a medium Panzerjäger. We're going to ignore Jagdtiger as just plain idiocy. Around this time also, the British are looking at making their own vehicles. The ideal one also has an open-topped traversing turret, and this would be Avenger. In the meantime, the SP Valentine, or also known as Archer, was built, no turret, but again an open top. They are using M10s in the meantime. The British, though, have a slightly different purpose in mind. They are not reactionary tank destroyers in the German or the American sense of the concept. They are in regiments mixed in with the towed guns and are literally self-propelled anti-tank guns, much like the German RSO with the Pak-40. Their advantage is in speed of emplacement and displacement. So, for example, after the British secure an objective, or at least they seize it, an M10 can then drive forward and become an immediate self-emplacing...
I wish I knew what, like, these tanks are. Like, what is the M10 tank? Like, I wish they had, like, a picture of it or something. I don't know, like, some kind of visual. Because, like, I don't know what an M10 is. Unless he explained it earlier, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it's some kind of... yeah, it's some kind of American tank. That's what I know that, at least.
Anti-tank foxhole. After a while, the towed guns can be emplaced to replace it. So remember, it would take 12 to 15 hours to properly emplace a towed 17-pounder gun. An M10 can be reasonably well emplaced in under an hour. So why is the advantage of a turret? Well, imagine you just moved into a position and have now spent time digging in, maybe 12 to 15 hours, and concealing the vehicle along the most likely enemy avenue of approach. All is well if the enemy cooperates and comes at you from the front, your expected route of advance. A problem poses itself, however, if the enemy comes at you from the side, requiring traversing the vehicle and all of your camouflage falling off, even if you dug in position and had the space to turn. In effect, a platoon of turreted vehicles can engage as a group any targets in any direction, more or less, whereas a platoon of turretless vehicles are either forced to engage piecemeal with some guns on.
Okay, now I'm confused about the definition of a turret. Okay. What did I just do? What the heck? Go away! No, oops. Okay, guys, can y'all see? Small tower. Small tower on top of a larger tower on the corner of a building wall. A mollusk? What's a mollusk? Oh, never mind. It's like a sea thing. Okay, I still don't get what it is, but okay. It's like I thought I knew what a turret was, but apparently not. Like just the way he's explaining it, like it seems like it's a different context.
Like able to bear.
I guess he's just talking about, you know, that little box thingy that like turns around with the barrel in it that like shoots. You know? Yeah, I assume so.
Or the whole lot of them have to turn, and then they lose their advantages of the prepared position. Now, of course, there is a disadvantage in not having a roof. Germans started to fall in love with mortars. The Soviets were very well in love with artillery as a whole to begin with, and in love or not, the British and the Americans in particular are extremely effective with their artillery. But in places that the Germans were able to rain down indirect upon a static line, such as in Italy, particularly Anzio, the Americans started to provide improvised roofs for their M10s and wrote home to Ordnance to please issue armored covers. Ordnance did indeed look into developing them and created armored roofs for all three of its vehicles, although only the M18 and the M36 seem to have been officially approved for production. Note that the roofs were still to be sufficiently high as to allow the crew to see reasonably well whilst still obstructed, so they're not confined to periscopes. They were also high enough that they did not interfere with the loading process of the ammunition.
I'm curious to hear the rationale for having a closed top. Because I remember he talked earlier about the advantages of having an open top, I think. But I don't think he's talking about like the advantages of a closed top.
Direct fire was
Maybe he didn't, I just forgot.
The primary concern for these armored covers, but so was small arms in built-up areas that it was expected that these vehicles may be fighting in Europe. As a result, not only was the vehicle designed to resist artillery from the top, but they went as far as to test the effects of small arms fired through the gap, maybe ricocheting down off of from the top of the roof. A special splash guard had to be installed, which solved that problem. That said, the field troops seemed less worried by this latter problem because you don't see the roofs very much in Europe. By this time, though, the war was almost over, so you will only really see the roofs on post-war M36s.
What's an M36?
The British, apparently,
M36. M36 range. Oh, okay, that's cool. Oops. That's my video. Wrong one. Also, by the way, I think I might like make a video about my video making process. It'll be interesting. Like, I don't know, it just thought it'd be interesting. I might do that tomorrow. tomorrow or so. I don't know.
They came to a similar conclusion, with a roof with a gap developed for both Archer and Avenger. The Germans, as mentioned, gave Jagdpanther a pretty solid armor, and the Jagdpanther 38T also had a roof, but again, they were on the receiving end of both effective artillery and effective airstrike, so it may well have been worth the hassle and the penalties. So there you go, that's why tank destroyers generally ended up looking the way that they did. If you want to learn more, at least from the American side, feel free to buy the book, Can Openers, written by, if you haven't seen it already. And otherwise, I hope you found it generally interesting and informative, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.
Hello everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. And turn on the notification bell thingy. And if you didn't, then make sure to leave a thumbs down. Oh yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch my other videos. They're probably just as good, then if not better than this one right now. Except for my oldest videos, don't watch those. And, subscribe to these people down here, my fellow sergeants. They're other YouTubers that I either know or I have in high regards. Yeah, even my cat agrees. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.